session.
So hi, I'm Shubhra Ghosh, and I'm a branded content manager and a CCO of Bakey Liars. Bakey Liars basically is a factual content specialist, and we make factual content programs for like NGC, history, discovery, and our programs have been launched in MIPCOM Cannes. So this is what I do currently. So as far as this presentation is concerned, I have chosen a topic. It's this documentary film studies. It's a common notion, It's a very common notion as what is documentary film and why in a generic sense it is very people think that documentary filmmaking doesn't need a specialization. Anybody can get up in the morning and just go around shooting a documentary film. It is not. Documentary film is a very specialized, you need a very specialized skills, knowledge to know what a documentary modes are, how you will be implemented. So let us start. In 1922, Robert Flaherty films Loop of the North, generally cited as the first feature-length documentary. The film employs many of the conversation of later documentary and ethnographic filmmaking, including use of the third-person narration, which we call voiceover, and subjective tone, and a focus on an indigenous person in the film's hero. We have to, it is very important to know, who coined the term documentary. The documentary has been coined, the term has been coined in 1926 by John Grierson. He was a young Scottish academic pursuing an interest in mass communication in US. So he coined the word documentary. What is documentary? Documentary is basically you document something visually. So this is what documentary is. And the creative treatment of actuality. Grierson has said that the creative treatment of actuality is documentary. Something has happened actually, but you portray it creatively. How you portray creatively, that is documentary. The description of documentary filmmaking is different for every filmmaker. Why it is so? Because filmmaking is a subjective matter. It depends from people to people how they take it. In 1933, Grierson said creative treatment of actuality is documentary. According to Nicholas, documentary exists in the crease between life as lived and life as narratized. How do you narrate a lived moment is what documentary is. It is not plainly as you just go around, shoot and you show it. That is not documentary filmmaking. If it's a film, it has to be creatively best. So we'll go to the next slide. We'll see what is the origin of documentary. The style of documentary or documentary modes was developed by American theorist Bill Nicholas. The concept was created as he wanted to distinguish the particular traits and different conventions used in documentaries. Basically, there are 6 modes of documentaries. One is poetic, participatory, expository, reflective, observational, and performative. So, let's see what is poetic documentaries are. Poetic documentaries are a mix of documentary and fiction films. In the time of 1920s, the documentaries films were not defined properly. So it was in between, somewhere between a fiction film and a documentary. So this abstract approach of documentary filmmaking emphasizes visual association, tonal or rhythmic qualities, description forms. Poetic documentaries first appeared in 1920s. Are abstract and artistic, represent reality in a stylistic manner. Often experimental film techniques are used to depict events in a metaphorical or symbolical ways. The poetic mode moved away from the continuity editing and instead organized images of a material world by means of association and patterns. So both in terms of time and space. That time when they used to portray a situation, real situation, maybe this is a common phenomenon now to go back to 15 years back and see, but that time it was something that happened that time in 1920s. So well-rounded characters like lifelike people were absent. Instead, people appeared in those films as entities. Like you can take a Holocaust film. a Holocaust film, maybe a Holocaust survivor may not be featuring in the film. Maybe an entity like him, like somebody who has seen a Holocaust, maybe someone from a son or daughter of a Holocaust survivor. They basically they are the entities, just like other are found in the materialistic world. They are not. You cannot say that they are not associated with it. They are associated, but they are not real ones. So poetic documentaries are not currently in fashion. People don't do it because it is considered that it is not realistic. Documentaries currently, if you want to make a documentary, it has to be real. You cannot use it. You cannot put it more artistic. It has to be direct, because there has been a difference between fiction and factual. So the second is observational mode. This is very interesting,
I just want to know. Citing that example of Night and Fog, poetic. What is it about?
Nightingale and Poetic was actually a picture of a horse and a man, and the horse was the man was trying to sit on the horse. There was 8-9 pictures, and that has been depicted as the man trying to ride on the horse, and it just right. This is just it was the first, you can say, they tried to portray it as a documentary. But you cannot say it was a documentary film properly. It was not. But they say that it was a poetic documentary. So observational mode, we say it as a window on the world. It's like we just observe what is happening. We don't interfere in it. We don't influence the content. So the attempt to observe aspects of the historical world as they happen. You cannot change the history. You cannot influence the history. So this kind of mode is utilized to say a documentary about a historical person or a historical event which has happened. So typically you have no voice-over commentaries, no supplementary music or sound, no intertitles, no historical reenactment. You don't do that in this. No behavior repeated for the camera or interviews. We don't repeat here. We don't say you do it again. It doesn't happen. We only observe as a third point of view. So social actors behave as if no filmmaker was there. Not at all influence. You just see what is happening. You just observe. You just make your opinion what is there. So reflexive mode. This is very interesting. Reflexive mode. A filmmaker reflects shows in that film. That is called a reflexive mode. Reflexive mode acknowledges the constructed nature of the documentary and flaunts it, conveying to people that is not necessary. It is not necessary that the topic which the filmmaker is saying is the same way the viewer will take. He will influence the content. He will say in a way that the viewer which is seeing the film, he will take what the filmmaker wants to say to the viewer. It is his reflexes. What he thinks, what is his political, nature, what is his inclination. This is what happens. Oh, give me a moment. Yeah. So an example of reflexive documentary maker would be Nick Broomfield, who mainly uses minimal camera crew with just himself and the cameraman most of the time, because he don't want to make a chaos out of the situation. Because if there are more crews, people, the subject would maybe influenced by the situations and the arrangements. So it's make the audience more aware of the problem the documentary filmmaker faces while they make the film. It happens, So the viewer get to know what the filmmaker maybe he is not allowed to shoot something, maybe he has been debarred to record something. That happens in this mode. Expository mode. This is a very common mode taken by the BBCs, you can say. A very good example is Railways, the series of Railways, Bombay Railways, you get from Troina, I think, if I'm not mistaken. This mode is what we define with document. This is very common, and very popular. It emphasizes verbal commentary, often using a narrator. This is the voice of God, It is said, whatever the narrator is saying, that is the voice of God. The viewer who is listening to this kind of voiceover, they will, ensure that whatever he's saying is right. Whatever information the narrator is giving, it is correct actually. So it emphasizes verbal commentary, often using a narrator, addresses the spectator directly. It says directly whatever, it doesn't say indirectly to the, it converse with the viewer very directly, with titles or voices that proposes a perspective, advance an argument, or recount history. Most associated with television news, these kind of television news programs, they use this kind of expository method, and documentary filmmaking, especially in BBC, you can say Discovery as well, they use this kind of expository method. They expose the character in the real situation, they don't glamorize it, they expose it in the, whatever it is, they will show it exactly that what is happening. So next is participatory mode. Participatory documentary believes that it is impossible for the act of filmmaking to not influence or alter the events being filmed. It is quietly impossible for a filmmaker to be, without participating with the event or the subject or whatever you're shooting, it is quite impossible. It is not, he has to participate, in some sense he will be participating with that content. Not only in the filmmaker part of the film, we also get a sense of how situation in the film are affected or altered by their presence. It happens. If you take example of Grizzly Bear, Warner Herzog, he participated in that series, horror series. He is there. He is, you can see them, you can see him, you can see his crew, cameraman, what is happening, how he's influencing there. He participate, he participate with the bears. He is doing something. He giving something, his food to,
Can you tell us about Man on Wire?
Sorry?
Man on Wire, what is it about?
Man on Wire, frankly speaking, I haven't seen this film Man on Wire. Warner Herzog, I have studied Warner Herzog a lot. So, and participatory, you can also take an example of participatory if you see Man and Wild, I think, Bear Grylls, Discovery Networks. That is a very good example, today's example of, how a filmmaker can participate and, do the content. I hope you've seen, right, Grizzly Bear and all things. So these are participating.
Okay, Shubha, we can have a question answer round now.
Sure. Okay, I have a just.
It's okay.
Alright.
I have two questions for you.
Sure.
One, what's the basic difference between reporting and documentary?
See, documentary reporting is you report whatever is happening. You have to report. You cannot influence it. It's a news. You cannot influence it. But documentary is what? Creatively telling the truth. You have to tell it creatively. How something has happened and how do you tell it creatively. Why should people look at the documentary film? They will rather see a news. There is a huge difference between a documentary and a news reporting. News reporting is flat. There is an ethic in news reporting, and that is you cannot give your perspective to a news. Right? I cannot give, if something is happening, I cannot say, what I think about it. No, I cannot say that. But if I'm a documentary filmmaker, I can say, that is my point of view, to see this content like that, to see the subject like that. But in reporting, that is not possible.
Okay, my second question is, though we understand that these concepts are really very important to make the student understand, but when we come to the practical part of documentary making, and when we talk about writing a documentary, how the structure of documentary is different from other structures, like other structure of fictional film writing. What is so special about documentary structure?
Yeah, documentary has a two kind of approach. One is a scripted, one is a non-scripted. Scripted are the films like Megastructure. You have seen Megastructure on Adani maybe. Those are scripted. You script it and you know what you want there. But non-scripted are the films are like Bombay Railways. You don't know what you will get. You will only know when you sit on a post-production table. So fictions, you have ample time to do whatever you want to do. You have control in that. You have the control in the environment. You have control in the subjects. You have everything. You can do whatever you want. Nobody will question you. But in documentary, that is not possible. If you want to show something, you have to choose a treatment first. And how you will choose a treatment for a documentary, it depends on the subject. What subject have you chosen? Every subject has a particular treatment to follow. If you don't follow it, it won't happen. It won't create that perfect impact on people.
But do we have some kind of structure, a basic structure for all kind of documentaries that we follow, whether we are making on our particular subject or our different subject?
See,
When I'm saying structure, that's the narrative structure I'm talking about. I'm talking about, do we have proper beginning, middle and end in that also?
yes, you have, you have a structure. See, the series, if we talk about a series of a documentary film, they have a particular, structured way. You can say it is a treatment, you can say it is a format of a documentary, where you follow a particular format, to precise subject you take a format. But we cannot say, every subject, there is a cohesive storytelling in every filmmaking. That is okay, but you have to, there is a, treatment which you have to follow. That is not same in documentary filmmaking, like the fiction films. Fiction films, that is the same, you start, there is a middle, there is a resolution that happens. But documentary film doesn't happen like that, It depends on the subject. You cannot, you cannot, you cannot presume, what will happen or how you will end a documentary. That is not possible. But in fiction, yes, you can write the end first, then you can start with it. That is possible, but not in documentary.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.